everybody, welcome back to my channel. I have been doing a series on this channel, I've not done one in quite a wee while, on anxiety hacks for people that genuinely are anxious. The reason I've decided to do this series is because I saw quite a while ago, when I typed in anxiety hacks to YouTube, I saw quite a few people that don't suffer with anxiety to the level that I do. So this is a video for people with moderate to severe anxiety, and hopefully it can help everybody. But I got quite frustrated watching these videos where it was like, go for a run, or like do these things when you're traveling or whatever. It's like, I can't really do those things. So hopefully this video can be helpful for you. I would really love if you have any kind of anxiety hacks or advice, if you would leave it down below, whether that's products that you use or just little things that you do that make you feel a bit less anxious. I would really love to know, and I might include them in the next video. So I'm going to get started. I have about 5 or 6 tips to get through. The first one is to do gentle exposure. What I mean by that is, I'm somebody that suffers with agoraphobia. If you're somebody that kind of struggles to leave the house, especially with everything that's been going on in the world, exposure therapy is such a good way to try and get yourself out there again. However, exposure therapy can be very pressurized, it can be quite a lot, especially if you're new to it, and I'm kind of scared of most places outside of my home, so doing anything is kind of like exposure therapy. But the other day, me and my partner Drew decided to go for a little walk on the prom, and we're just like, should we just go a little bit further? So we went a little bit further, and this was totally unplanned. We ended up walking like an hour away from home, which is quite far for me. So I think what I mean by this is, try those kinds of things. Make sure exposure therapy doesn't always have to be meticulously planned, because I feel like sometimes I plan exposure therapy to the last detail, and then if something tiny goes wrong then I get anxious. So I think sometimes it's really helpful when you're doing things like exposure therapy or just trying to get out there a bit more, to just do it very gently and gradually, and maybe one day when you're feeling a bit better, you know, there's some days that we have where we're like, oh my god, I feel okay today. Those are the days where you can maybe test the waters a little bit, go for a walk and then try and go a bit further, or go for a drive and then be like, okay, I'm going to go to the next stop, or I'm going to go to the next shop, or whatever. I found it was really helpful the other day, and I don't think I would have been able to walk that far if we'd planned it out and I had so much time to think about it beforehand. The second one is earthing, and this is maybe like sounds a bit airy-fairy and hippie and all that kind of stuff, but it really is so helpful for me, and I have been doing it for a long time before I even knew that it had a word. The word is earthing, and it means to go barefoot, and this is usually in places like the woods or the beach, or somewhere where you can really feel like the elements underneath your feet. I am somebody that often wears Birkenstocks. If you know me, I like to wear Birkenstocks a lot. Birkenstocks are like the sandals, the open toe sandals, and literally you can just slide them off in less than a second, and I find that really helps me, knowing that I can, firstly, knowing that when I'm out and about, if I've taken my shoes off, I can really quickly put them back on and run if I need to, if I'm feeling really anxious. But also, when I was on the beach the other day, when I was practicing exposure therapy, there was a moment where I did start to feel really anxious when I realised, oh my god, we've walked really far, like this is far for me, and started to feel a bit anxious. I took my shoes off and just felt my feet on the sand, and it was freezing cold, it was a little bit wet, sand was getting in between my toes, and it kind of just brought me back down, just feeling something cold or feeling something different. I actually went for a little dip in the water, felt all the water on my toes. It really helped for a while, like walking on the seashells, noticing that it was kind of painful with some of the seashells and other ones were like more smooth. It just really helps me to feel like, okay, it's kind of like, I imagine the same way as like pinching yourself, or like, you know, when people say like, pinch me, like I feel like I'm dreaming or something. I feel like it reminds me of that, of just like getting a little bit of a shock to your feet, or you know, something different, and just feeling the earth has been really helpful for me. Again, it sounds really airy-fairy, but it's been really helpful for me. The next tip is more of an ideology, I guess, and that is, I think so much of the time we strive to get better and we strive to stop being anxious. That is our goal. Like, as people with anxiety or people with depression or any kind of mental illness, our goal is to stop being that way or stop feeling that way. understandably, because anxiety is horrible. You know, a lot of the time having anxiety is extremely difficult. It means I can't do certain things, blah de blah. But telling yourself all the time and having your goal, even if you don't actively think about it, having your goal as being less anxious, stopping being anxious, all these things, is so much pressure for somebody that can't help the way they feel. This doesn't mean that you shouldn't go to therapy, take medication, try different things. You know, of course you want to get better. Of course you want to stop feeling the anxiety that you feel. But I guess what I'm trying to say is there's nothing wrong with you. Like, there's nothing that you shouldn't be feeling. There's nothing that, it's not your fault that you feel the way you do. Having the goal of continuously trying to stop being anxious, it's kind of like telling yourself every day, I don't like the way you are. You are too anxious. I don't like this about you. This massive thing in your life that you can't help, that's probably caused by some amount of trauma in your life. I don't like that about you and I want to change it. And kind of telling yourself that. I've been anxious for 10 years. I've had anxiety problems. So telling myself every day to stop being anxious is like saying, I hate that part of you. That part needs to change. And I don't like that. I feel like that is never going to be helpful. And I feel like the tough love approach when it comes to anxiety is not helpful for most people. If it does work for you, then that's great and keep going with that. But for the most part, I think people need more gentle, more love in order to try and get better. But again, like, I spoke to my boyfriend about this the other day and he was like, we were talking about agoraphobia and he was saying like, who says that you're wrong? Kind of being like, who says that living with agoraphobia is the wrong way to live and you should be able to travel and you should strive to be better? That's not the way it is. I'm happy with who I am. And again, I've spoken about this before, but use more of like, try and include more language in your life that is like adding. So what is it about you? You're probably a kind person, you're probably a gentle person, and maybe you're a creative person, maybe you're somebody that always helps their friends out, always listens to their friends. Keep going with that energy, and then when you're doing things like exposure therapy or trying something new or doing something that makes you anxious, then bring in that really gentle voice that's not saying you shouldn't be anxious, but that's saying, oh, this is making you anxious, like, I'm really sorry this is making you anxious, let's try and go over these slowly. There's this exit if you need to, we have this medication if we need to. I just think that's the way forward. The next one is something that I spoke about with my therapist a while ago, about sometimes you as an anxious person might be in a situation where you are uncomfortable. Somebody might be making you feel uncomfortable, maybe you're at a family gathering or something and there's that one person that always says the wrong thing or says something that makes you feel pissed off or anxious or like you shouldn't be there, or all of these things that you shouldn't have to feel in these kind of situations. And it's kind of having this inner being, your inner being. Maybe it's you as an inner child, maybe it's you as a child, maybe it's you as an adult, maybe it's you now, whoever it might be. It's you kind of sitting there and just having this inner knowing and this inner smile that's like, you don't know what you're talking about. I say this because sometimes in these situations it might not be possible for us to be able to say how we feel and stick up for ourselves, and that is okay. You don't have to go out of your way to educate people, that's not your job. I'm sure you've probably tried to explain your situation the best you can, and even if you've not, then you're not feeling safe enough to do that, that's also fine. You don't owe anybody anything. What you do owe yourself is to be there for yourself. But sometimes you're not always able to kind of stick up for yourself and say, like, that's not right, don't talk about me like that, or that's not how I've experienced it, or that's not true. So having this kind of inner knowing of, say it's Christmas and everyone's sitting around and somebody makes a comment about your weight, or somebody makes a comment about your abilities, or whatever it might be, having this inner knowing, this inner smile, like imagine yourself sitting there with a smile on your face and being like, you're talking bullshit. I've found that so helpful in situations where I don't feel like I'm able to stand up. Even maybe drawing that character, drawing you sitting on the sofa with this annoying person being there and just kind of smiling to yourself and being like, shut up. Hopefully that is helpful. And also if you are in a situation where you are able to stand up for yourself, I definitely recommend that too. That is good as well. My next one is a more practical one, and that is when you are going to appointments like getting your nails done, getting your hair done, or you're going out for a meal or whatever it might be, going for a coffee with a friend, I have found it to be really helpful to pay first. I don't know if I've ever spoken about this, but I was getting my nails done once, and the thought of, I think for a lot of people with anxiety, we like to have escapes, we like to have quick exits, we like to be able to stand up quickly and just get out of there if we really feel like this is getting too much. But obviously, if you're halfway through getting your nails done, that person is, you know, spent their time and they're doing their job and they deserve to get paid. Or same with hairdressers, same with going out for coffee, whatever it might be. So either sometimes having actual cash in regular times, having actual cash that you can just leave on the table and run out can be helpful. But in situations that's more close, like getting your nails done, getting your hair done, I know that hairdressers and everything is going to open up really soon here. It can be really helpful to be like, it's okay, and you can make something up. You can say, it's okay if I pay now, I'm not sure, my card wasn't working earlier. They will always want you to try and pay because that's what they want. Or if you use your phone to pay, you can be like, my phone's about to run out of battery, it's okay if I quickly pay now. That kind of stuff really helps me, knowing that that means I can get up and leave whenever I want to. That person's being paid, I don't owe them anything, that's it, done. Even if I walk out with wonky hair or one hand done on my nails, who cares? I've made myself feel safe in that situation. And it just gives you a little bit more room to relax, and I think you're less likely to have to leave if you feel like you're able to leave. And the last tip I have, which might not be for everybody, is to have one room in your house or whatever it might be that has less stuff in it. I don't really have any room in my house that has little stuff because my flat is very small. However, this is a room that I probably would have aesthetically done very differently if I wasn't thinking about my anxiety. I have very minimal stuff on the walls here, so when I'm lying in bed, the wall next to me has absolutely nothing on it, and this wall here only has one print and it's a map. And then obviously behind me is my girl power thing, but I think that's quite minimal as well, and I don't really see that when I'm lying down. But I find that having a space that's blank is really calming. Also, I only have one window in my whole room, which is a skylight, which the blind is constantly closed. I like having the option of being able to lie in a completely dark room with not very much around me, and I find that really, really calming. I think that's something to try out if you are trying to try different things. My living room is full of colour, everything's on the wall, like my goddaughter's art, my art, like a million trillion books. My TV's always on loud, like it's a more chaotic space. This is a space where I hardly ever bring my laptop in here. It's often very quiet, and having the blank wall has just made me feel much more calm here. And I've never really actively thought about it, but I've always thought that wall would look so nice with loads of prints on it, but actually that's just busyness, which I don't need. I need a room that's nice and calm. So they are my tips at the moment. I have done loads of other videos like this, so maybe I'll make a little playlist of the anxiety hacks videos, or you can just find them on my channel. If you have some anxiety hacks you'd like to share, I would really, really like to know. And thank you very much for watching this video, and I'll see you soon. Bye!